sky, ashes falling like rain. The world screams, but no one's alive. Everything burns, everything dies. Smoke in my lungs, fire in my eyes. Everything burns, it's all a lie.
Introduction. This book is unlikely to resonate with those who stumbled into the advertising world by accident. Such people rarely stick around. It's written first and foremost for those who've already walked a certain path in the creative or marketing industry. Designers, project managers, art directors, branding experts, video editors, advertising specialists, anyone who spent time freelancing or working at agencies. In other words, it's for people who've already been on this side of the fence and are now beginning to ask themselves, should I start my own thing? If you're at that very point, dealing with different types of clients, realizing you're doing far more than what your job description says, and quietly feeling like it's time to build something of my own, then this book will likely strike a chord. It may not offer a ready-made recipe for success, but it will definitely help you avoid some of the pitfalls I once ran into and shine a light on the unspoken struggles that rarely make it into feel-good business courses. Nearly everyone who's ever thought about launching their own agency knows the feeling. At first, it seems like you can simply replicate what you've seen elsewhere, grab a couple of trusted colleagues, and start taking on clients directly. How hard can it be? But reality has its own agenda. Suddenly, you're dealing with full responsibility, operations, client negotiations, accounting and taxes, hiring and retaining talent, working nights and weekends. All of it becomes part of the new normal. I've been through it myself. And maybe, just maybe, something from my experience will help you stay in the game a little longer. I often hear people say, I'm leaving to do things my own way. It's a noble idea, but doing things your own way doesn't mean doing them the easy way. When you're starting a business, especially in the creative industry, you end up wearing every hat: salesperson, project manager, designer, and sometimes even therapist to your clients. And perhaps the most critical part is simply not burning out, not losing your passion, not growing resentful toward your work or your clients, not reaching a point where you can't even imagine coming back. This book is especially relevant for those who want an honest look at how a creative business actually works, without sugarcoating, but also without unnecessary drama. It won't try to talk you out of launching your own thing. On the contrary, I believe that the more healthy, sustainable, and professionally run agencies we have in this industry, the stronger and more ethical the market becomes. But I also believe it's important to understand the true cost of getting there. You'll learn why the first 6 months might go by without weekends or vacations, how even a great project can end in conflict, how to distinguish between a client's whim and a valid revision, and why filtering your emotions can sometimes be more valuable than your creative skills. And above all, how not to burn out when it feels like you've already hit the wall. This is not another 0 to a million guide. It's a collection of real experiences, mine and others, to help those who are thinking about building a business that's bigger than themselves do it with clarity and intent. Not because it's trendy, but because they're truly ready. You won't find vague advice like, start with your brand mission, or delegate everything you can. There are enough of those books out there. What you'll get here is something else, a hands-on manual built on real-world practice. Every lesson in this book has been lived, across dozens of projects, clients, mistakes, sleepless nights, failed ideas, tough conversations, lost budgets, and opportunities that slipped away. I'll walk you through how I launched from scratch, what challenges I faced, and which decisions helped, and which didn't. You'll find out what stages of launching a creative business are truly unavoidable, even if no one talks about them in trendy articles, where time, energy, and money are most often wasted, and how to avoid those traps. Why burnout tends to hit hardest in the early months, and how to at least postpone it until you've built basic systems. How to measure efficiency when you're not a corporation, just a few freelancers, some regular clients, and a mountain of to-dos. And why being a designer often has little to do with design, and being a manager rarely means just managing. This won't be a 1, 2, 3 step-by-step guide. Think of it more like a rough map, with notes that say, use a trap, this part's been tested, and maybe don't go here alone. In the creative business, so much hinges on nuance, the tone of a message, the second chance you give, the ability to say no, or calmly explain your point without pressure. If you've worked in branding, marketing, design, or production, much of this will likely feel familiar. But I've tried to go beyond simply describing situations, instead offering actual moves and decisions I've made, with numbers, processes, options. No glorification, no fluff. You'll still make mistakes, and that's okay. But after reading this book, you won't be walking blind. You'll know roughly what you're signing up for when you decide to build something of your own. When I set out to write this, I didn't want to offer yet another formula for success. What I did want was to document a real path, one that included the chaos of first orders, long periods of uncertainty, explosive growth, and complete standstills. It all started back in 2013 with a Xeon Cut plotter, a 70-inch Chinese machine with servo motors. I still remember that 40-kilogram box taking up half my room. I had no clear idea of the market, no strategy, not even a solid portfolio. Just a thought. I'll make stickers and pitch wrapping services to local car dealers. That first year, I did everything, not just vinyl wraps. Once I cut 56,000 labels for Telecom over 3 sleepless days. That same room turned into a mini factory, and sleep became optional. I worked on packaging for farmers, designed business cards, flyers, catalogs. Not many clients, but just enough to stay afloat and keep studying. This journey, from a plotter in my bedroom to running a small agency with B2B clients, became the foundation of this book. I want to show what it really looks like on the inside. Building websites when you swore web wasn't your thing. Dealing with clients who don't know what they want but expect you to read their minds, and surviving when 3 people are doing the work of 15. My goal is to show the whole path. No polish, just the working parts, the shortcuts that work, and the corners you absolutely can't cut. Because in small business, most decisions aren't made by the book. They're shaped by context, character, and whatever inner drive you have left. I'm not claiming my experience is the only way, but it's real. And if even a piece of it helps you take your own path with more clarity and less pain, then this book was worth